All right, as we've noted on past programs, the U.S. military is having recruitment problems, a crisis actually, and the Department of Defense is scrambling for solutions, resorting to using Chinese-owned TikTok, and more recently, the Army actually tossing out its high school diploma or GED requirements. But maybe military leaders should be looking at something else in terms of why they're struggling to get men and women to join the military. With me now to talk about this is Congressman Mike Waltz. He's a member of the House Armed Services Committee, decorated Special Forces officer. He actually is the ranking member on the Military Readiness Subcommittee. He represents the 6th Congressional District of Florida. Mike, welcome back to the program.
Yeah, hey, good to be with you, Tony, and thanks for covering this. It's really approaching some crisis levels here.
I have to tell you, I was shocked when I read this morning that, we haven't seen this since Vietnam, that they're actually throwing out the educational requirements of just even having a GED. What do you make of this?
Yeah, this has been a crisis in the making for some time, and I think it really points to a broader deterioration of our young people and our youth in our education system in the United States, and a deterioration of family and of values. So to start out with, Tony, the military now is pulling from a very limited pool. At 70 to 75% of young people between 18 and 24 don't meet the basic requirements for the military. Either literally they're too overweight, they can't meet the very basic minimum physical requirements, or they have too much of a criminal history, or they have some other type of issue that precludes them from even being eligible. So to start out, they're only pulling from about 25% of the eligible population. And then in recent years, it's been exacerbated, one, by the government literally paying people not to work. And California just issued yet another stimulus check of $1,000 per person. I mean, we're seeing that issue across all the businesses that I come across in Florida. They literally just can't find people who want to work and get their hands dirty and go do hard stuff. And then the second issue is, they're layering on top of that, they're kicking people out who do want to stay for COVID vaccines. So we just had the chief of the Navy testify they're going to kick out 2,000 sailors, the Marines, another 1,000 Marines, the Army, a brigade's worth for this COVID vaccine. Yet they can't meet their recruiting goals. So this is just it's a witch's brew of a number of things: longstanding societal issues, bad decisions on the part of our leadership today. They haven't had access into high schools because so many of them were shut down in the last few years, I would argue unnecessarily. And now we are where we are, where the military is actually having to cut its overall size because they can't fill their ranks.
All right, Congressman Waltz, this is, you've laid out, diagnosed the problem pretty, accurately. And so we have this recruiting deficit. The Army's only been able to make 40% of its recruitment goals. But yet at the same time, you just talked about how they're booting people out, an entire brigade almost in the Army for not getting the vaccine. To me, this almost looks intentional, that we're trying to break down our military and weaken our military.
Well, I wouldn't, necessarily prescribe that motive on our military leaders, Tony, but I have to tell you there are many members of the left who certainly don't mind.
But some of these decisions are being driven by the politicians.
Oh, that's right. Well, and you're absolutely right. And I have to fight them for every, for every defense dollar that we get, for every recruiting dollar. And many of them, especially at the local level and in many communities, won't let recruiters into their high schools and won't let recruiters actually access the kids to kind of lay out a brighter future. And that the military has been a pathway out of poverty, has been a pathway out of underserved neighborhoods, has been, a pathway to really set the stage for future generations to truly succeed. I mean, it certainly did for me. My father and grandfather were both Navy chiefs. I was the first in my family to go to college and to become an officer. So this has a lot of, I think, will have a lot of spillover effects aside from just purely a national security standpoint. And it's been bad decision after bad decision, but I do think that have exacerbated some very serious and concerning underlying societal issues that we could probably spend the rest of the hour diagnosing.
Well, and I'm actually going to be turning to that in just a moment with Dr. Brad Wilcox, as I think you're absolutely right. There are some underlying issues here that we're seeing spilling over into the broader culture. Congressman Waltz, this is an issue we're going to continue to talk about, especially as the Republicans move toward regaining the majority, because our military is going to have to be rebuilt.
Well, and Tony, and just one more thing, of those that remain, this garbage that they're teaching them in terms of this wokeness in our military academies, CRT, focusing on Pride Month rather than how to shoot, move, and communicate.
Right.
When we get in charge, that stuff's going to stop.
Well, and it can't happen soon enough. Congressman Mike Waltz, always great to talk with you, my friend. Thanks so much for joining us.
All right. Thank you, Tony.